Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast with Pat Monk. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Ben joining us from WeVestor. Ben, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I mean, we've been looking a little bit into what you're doing. Obviously, at WeVestor, you're helping startups, and it's all about helping the community. And can you tell our guests and people who are tuning in to our podcast, our regular listeners, what WeVestor is all about and how you help startups?
Sure. Yeah. So WeVestor is a shareholder management platform. And so effectively what that means is companies can put their cap table, their financial data, their KPIs, their fundraising scenario models, employee participation plans, anything that would be effective to report to a shareholder. They can do it all in a single place with their WeVestor account. And what we've done is we've sort of tailor made this platform for startups with the insight that the most valuable currency in the life of a founder, especially a startup founder, is time. And startup founders are spending a ton of time reporting to the people like advisors, like shareholders, like the just general stakeholders when they could be, executing on the vision of the company. And so that's what we're aiming to solve.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so many people are time poor these days, so anything that can
Totally.
help people with that. And what kind of main industries? Obviously, you're working with startups, but what kind of industries do you find yourself focused on, or is it everybody, or is there certain niches that you like to help?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we're industry exclusive. We do come across a lot of tech companies, especially working in startups. We've been active in the Netherlands for about 3 years now. And so, we've got a variety of industries that we cover there. We're recently active in the UK market as well, parts of Germany and the Nordics as well. And so the overall idea is that we should be able to work with any sort of industry because the problem remains. All founders um, whether you are a scale up or a startup, or if it's just you're an idea phase, we can help you. And that core kind of benefit is saving you time in either capturing the data that you'll ultimately have to report down the line, or reporting the data to the shareholders you currently have.
Very good. And with that, like when you're growing, I mean, what kind of channels are you using? Are you mostly focused on outbound? Are you using LinkedIn, Google, or is it mostly inbound? I mean, where what
Yeah,
different strategies are you using to grow at the moment?
that's a good question. Yes, the kind of the motto around the office is our strategy is built into two categories. It's share of voice as well as share of memory. The share of voice stuff is fundamentals. So fundamental things like SEO, SEA, Google Ads, making sure that we can retarget and move people down the funnel with basic, lead nurturing initiatives like we found some success in lead in LinkedIn campaigns that retarget off of people who come from our website. Automated outbound has also been really effective for us, as well as automated outbound in LinkedIn is also very effective for us. So that's the share of voice piece. The other category is share of memory. And this is where it gets, in my opinion, a bit more interesting and a bit more kind of tailor made to the WeVestor story. We are ultimately a freemium style model. So up to 25 users on a single account are free. And so we kind of thought to ourselves, if we're going to adopt that model, we really need to lean into community marketing. And that is ultimately with the ultimate KPI of such marketing is building community, making people feel like they trust us, but also they can interact, they can learn, but they can also, teach one another different components of the lifestyle and the life cycle of a startup. So we do that with a number of different initiatives, things like events, things like webinars, free content, free education, things like that.
Fantastic, fantastic. And with this, like when you're saying like all these different things that you're doing the outreach, I mean, how important in this whole scheme, like you're saying you're having good success with LinkedIn, but how important is your actual website towards converting those visitors into, I don't know, demos or new clients and customers?
The website's the holy grail. It's the mothership, and I think that's something that we personally, at least I embrace, is that it needs to be that way, and you need to be okay with updating your website as often as it needs to be updated. You can. It's good to feel good about your website, but it could always use a little work because it is our ultimate conversion point as far as getting people to get to know us and then ultimately convert to a demo where we can make face-to-face contact and hopefully nurture that lead into a free account and then continue to activate that free account into a paid account down the road. So it is without a doubt the most important part of our strategy.
No, yeah, no, I definitely hear that. And like with kind of switching gears a little bit, and let's say talking about you being as a, let's say, a leader within marketing, what you're doing. I mean, what keeps you busy on a day-to-day basis at WeVestor?
Gosh, it's a loaded question. Yeah, it could be any number of things. I think that ultimately, um, what I spend most of my time doing is, we've really got a strong team of people who are, executing on all of those things I just mentioned about share of voice and share of memory, is making sure that things are balanced, that we are continuing to be agile, and that we can leverage what works. That's especially important when it comes to that share of memory activity. Um, Building community is tricky, and it has to be, you have to constantly have the pulse of being, of the honest needs of that community. And it's much more community management, to be honest, than I expected it to be. But that's a great kind of problem to have for us because we're always working to have sales and marketing closer. The marketing team becomes a social listening tool with all the community building that we're doing. And so when we do, 3 events, live events in a quarter, plus a bunch of webinars, plus we launch a few pages on our website for free education and discounts on our friends for free advertising for them, but also to benefit other startups. All of these things come with inherent feedback and just discussion with our community that we can then feed back to our sales team to not necessarily leverage, but just to stay on top of. You say, hey, people are talking a lot about how much they like this or how much they need this help. That also, informs our product team. If it's something as specific as a product need that they could, prioritize on our roadmap. So I think that to summarize, my day-to-day bulk of my time is just kind of keeping my eye on that particular ball.
Yeah.
Is are we not only staying active in community building and community marketing, but also are we using what happens, the richness of all this data that we can reap from just being a part of this community and being the leaders of this community, and are we being effective in that way?
Fantastic. Great. It sounds like you're busy. So lots of stuff going on. So look, now that we're coming up to the end of our interview, what I want to do is jump into some rapid fire questions. So any like short and crisp answers are needed. So are you ready? Are you ready, Ben?
Yes, I'm ready.
So what was the last book you read?
I read a book called American Kingpin. It's actually a true story. American Kingpin. Bunch
Very.
of
If you want to know more, listeners, you have to get into Amazon or wherever you buy your
Yeah,
book.
Google it.
Google. So also, imagine you're going back, you're able to turn back time, and it's your first day, your first week, month, whatever, at WeVestor, and you're able to give yourself some advice. What would you say, or what would you do differently?
I would sit in. I would sit in on a product meeting my first day.
Oh, okay. Good answer. So
Product. The product is the point. You know.
exactly. Okay. Great answer. Good answer. So what I want to do is I want to give you a last word. Imagine if everybody that's been listening in to the podcast, imagine if they were to forget everything that we just spoke about. If you were just to leave them with one point about WeVestor, what would that be? One thing for them to remember.
One thing to remember that I try and tell as many people in marketing as I can is there should be so much more focus on story. And if you don't know what that means, what it means is, of course, there's the grandma test. If you were to explain it to your grandmother, would she get it? That's maybe oversimplified, but can you build a story for your company and for your marketing, for your brand that is always compelling and always true? And then let features prove that story and its validity and reasons to believe in that story. Lead with story. The features will play a part in that, but they're just characters. If the story doesn't make sense, then you got to start over.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well said. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us on today's podcast. So yeah, that's it. Definitely check out Ben, check out WeVestor, and that is it for today's episode. So everybody, looking forward to seeing you on the next one. All the best, and bye bye.